You know, it's funny, after you do something, you don't think it's that big of a deal. But I was at Hatteras yesterday, and I said to somebody, I said, can you imagine taking off on that boat right there and driving to Australia? But first go to Panama, then go to Europe, then go to Brazil, then go to Cairns. I mean, it doesn't seem possible. Like, they think you're nuts. I mean, we must be. Dorothea is a 147-foot expedition yacht built by Choi Lee. The current post one is a 63 Hatteras GT 2018 model. What we've aimed to do is a cultural expedition program that focuses on fishing. The idea of the trip came about, I think, during the build process at Hatteras. We were going to do an Atlantic tour. We took this standard boat and just beefed up some of the ship systems. So most of the pumps, motors, standard everyday equipment that you would find on your normal 50 to 70 foot fishing boat. We increased the robustness of it. There's integrated fuel transfer systems, there's connections in the cockpit for fuel bladders. The electronics are sort of over the top for a 63-foot boat, but in line for something that is traveling the world. One unique piece is this boat's got a gyro, whereas most other boats would have a fluxgate compass and sort of standard issue electronics. Dual radars and communications was set up between the boats themselves, not with a lot of emphasis on satellite communication. So we put a sideband in the boat, and I believe it was the first sideband that Hatteras had put in, well, the first grounding plane that Hatteras had put in a boat in 15 years. In fact, they had to bring the guy back out of retirement that used to solder in the grounding planes into the flybridge substructure and teach the guys today how to do it. We set it up so that it could be used in a more continuous way, rather than the way that typically those boats are designed for intermittent or recreational use. The boat doesn't have satellite TV, it doesn't have VSAT, it's got Inmarsat Fleet 500. It's all geared towards open water, blue water cruising. Not a lot of emphasis on comforts, other than the fact that it is just a really nice boat. My anxiety prior to any of that was based around the engines. And I knew that the engines were high horsepower and meant to run under high load. That's what they're designed for. But the starboard engine blew up at 15 hours during sea trials at Hatteras. So my concern throughout the whole building of the boat, and then obviously taking delivery, was that no matter what we did to the periphery systems, that we had a boat that maybe couldn't do the amount of miles that we needed to do at slow speed because the engines just simply weren't designed for it. When one of the engines needed to be rebuilt at 15 hours, this just sort of compounded the problems in my head. So once we got through those problems, once all of the issues were resolved with the engine at Hatteras and Caterpillar signed off on it and everything was good, we ran it down the coast, we got it to Florida, both boats were together. Everything looks good, but high anxiety. I don't think I had a lot of confidence that we were going to be able to pull off an Atlantic crossing, nonetheless, 2 Atlantic crossings, and then a Pacific crossing. But not one single issue, believe it or not. Not one alarm. Time proved me wrong. There's a reason why boats don't travel together in this fashion or do this type of thing. It is a painstakingly difficult process. The 2 biggest issues is fuel and weather. We had to figure out how to keep the boats safe, how to keep the boats together, what position the boats needed to be in order to fuel in heavier seas. You got a guy on the bow, you got 2 people on the stern, you got waves, you got water, you got fuel lines. The opportunity for disaster is every minute. This isn't something you can Google. How do you fuel a Hatteras at sea? And there's nothing there. We tried a couple different positions. We tried the boat side by side, directly astern, and then sort of quartering. And what we did is we took a monkey's fist, we threw it onto the bow of post 1, and we sat it there. And we figured that if we could keep a line with a weight just sitting on the bow of post 1 for 20 or 30 minutes, that could easily be replaced with a fuel hose. And then it's just like anything else. Once you do it once, you do it twice. By the 4th or 5th time, we feel like we're in pretty good shape. We're in 30 knots of wind, 6 to 8 foot seas, and we're doing it. We're pumping fuel. So once we figured out fueling, once we figured out weather, once we figured out what needs to be done, daily, weekly, monthly, what needs to be done while we're underway, we came up with a program that, yeah, I mean, you could literally go anywhere. So we did.